The silver halls of the Galactic Council echoed with voices from 100 different worlds. Beings of crystal, gas, and flesh gathered around the massive circular chamber, where decisions affecting trillions of lives were made daily. Today's agenda seemed routine to most members. They were discussing what to do about a small blue planet on the edge of the galaxy. Ambassador Krell stood tall at the speaking platform. His reptilian features gleamed under the artificial lights as he addressed the council. The Zephyrian Empire had sent their best diplomat to make this presentation, though Krell considered it a waste of his time. This should be simple. Honored council members, Krell began, his voice carrying the confidence of a species that had conquered 12 star systems. I present the case of Sol 3, also known as Earth. Our scouts have completed a full survey of this primitive world. The holographic display above the chamber showed a rotating image of Earth. Blue oceans, white clouds, green and brown continents. It looked peaceful from space, almost innocent. The inhabitants call themselves humans, Krell continued. They achieved faster than light travel only 30 years ago. In galactic terms, they are still children playing with tools they barely understand. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Several council members nodded their various heads, tentacles, and sensing organs. Everyone knew that species needed at least 200 years of space travel before they could be considered even remotely civilized. Counselor Ythara of the Ethereal Collective spoke first. Her voice sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. What is their population and technological level? 8 billion individuals, Krell replied. Their technology is crude but functional. They use chemical rockets for local space travel and basic fusion drives for their few interstellar ships. Their weapons are kinetic projectiles and simple energy beams, nothing that could threaten even our oldest vessels. The display changed to show human cities, their primitive spacecraft, and their small military fleets. The ships looked tiny compared to the massive Zephyrian warships that patrolled the Empire's borders. More importantly, Krell added, they spend most of their time fighting each other. Our observers report constant small wars between different human nations. They cannot agree on anything. They have over 200 separate governments on a single planet. This caused several council members to laugh. The idea of a species so divided seemed absurd to civilizations that had unified their worlds millennia ago. Counselor Techmore's crystalline body flickered with amusement. How can such a scattered species pose any resistance to organized military action? They cannot, Krell said firmly. Our war games predict total victory within 72 hours. The humans will likely surrender after we destroy a few of their orbital stations. Most primitive species do. The Galactic Council had rules about dealing with younger civilizations. They were supposed to be offered membership and protection, not conquest. But the Zephyrian Empire had found legal ways around these rules before. They always claimed they were bringing order and civilization to chaotic worlds. What resources does this world possess? Asked Counselor Vextai, whose insectoid species managed much of the galaxy's mining operations. Krell's eyes gleamed. Substantial deposits of trilithium in their asteroid belt. Rare earth elements in abundance. Most valuable of all, they have natural crystals that could power our entire fleet for decades. The planet is rich beyond our current estimates. This information changed the mood in the chamber. Trilithium was essential for faster-than-light communication. Rare earth elements powered most advanced technology, and power crystals were always in short supply across the galaxy. Have you attempted diplomatic contact? Counselor Ythara asked, though her tone suggested she already knew the answer. Of course, Krell lied smoothly. We sent peaceful messages offering them membership in our empire. They responded with threats and hostile posturing. They even fired on our scout ships. The truth was different. The Zephyrians had never tried to communicate with humans. They had decided Earth was too valuable to leave in primitive hands. It was easier to claim the humans were aggressive than to admit they wanted to steal everything of value from their world. The humans clearly cannot be reasoned with, Krell continued. They are violent, divided, and dangerous to themselves and others. The Zephyrian Empire requests permission to bring order to their system. We will relocate the population to suitable worlds where they can live peacefully under proper guidance. What Krell meant was slavery, though he used prettier words. The Zephyrians would strip mine Earth and use the humans as cheap labor. It was a story that had played out many times before with other primitive species. The council debated for several hours, but the outcome was never really in doubt. The humans had no allies, no influence, and no way to defend themselves against a galactic empire. The vote was unanimous. The Zephyrian Empire was granted permission to annex the Sol system and relocate its population. As the council session ended, few members gave Earth another thought. It was just another primitive world that would be absorbed into galactic civilization. In 100 years, humans would be footnote in the historical records of the Zephyrian Empire. Krell returned to his ship with a smile. The invasion fleet was already assembled at the edge of Zephyrian space. 200 of their finest warships armed with weapons that could crack moons and shields that could stop stellar radiation. It would be the most overwhelming display of force ever brought against such a weak target. 3 days later, the fleet entered hyperspace. Admiral Corex, a veteran of the Tau Ceti campaign, commanded the invasion force. He expected this to be his easiest victory. The humans had perhaps 50 ships capable of space combat. Their largest vessel was smaller than his smallest escort. Admiral, his communications officer reported as they dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. We are detecting no enemy vessels. The system appears to be completely empty. Corex frowned as he studied the sensor displays. Earth was there, rotating peacefully in its orbit. But all the orbital stations, mining platforms, and spacecraft that had been reported by their scouts were gone. It was as if every human in space had simply vanished. Perhaps they fled when they detected our approach, suggested his tactical officer. All of them? Corex asked. Even their cargo haulers and civilian transports? Run deeper scans. Check for cloaked vessels. The sensors swept through the system multiple times. They found nothing. No ships, no energy signatures, no signs of human technology anywhere except on the planet itself. It makes no difference, Corex decided. Prepare the landing forces. We will take the planet directly. But as the Zephyrian fleet moved deeper into the solar system, heading toward Earth, none of them noticed the faint gravitational anomalies scattered throughout the asteroid belt. Anomalies that suggested very large objects were hiding where normal sensors could not detect them. The invasion of Earth was about to begin. The Zephyrians expected it to end with human surrender and Zephyrian victory. They were about to learn that humans had spent their entire history as a species proving that expectations could be very, very wrong. Behind them, in the cold darkness between worlds, something was watching. Something that had been waiting for this moment for a very long time. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the command center buried 3 kilometers beneath the Rocky Mountains. Around her, hundreds of technicians monitored screens showing every ship in the Zephyrian invasion fleet. The facility had been built in secret over the past 15 years, funded by money that officially did not exist. Admiral Torres, the enemy fleet is moving past Jupiter, reported Lieutenant Park from the sensor station. They still show no signs of detecting our ships. Admiral Marcus Torres nodded grimly. He was a thin man with gray hair and tired eyes. The weight of humanity's survival rested on his shoulders, and he felt every gram of it. How long until they reach Earth? 6 hours at their current speed, Chen answered. She was the architect of humanity's defense plan, though most of the world believed she worked for a civilian research institute. All ships report ready for Operation Lazarus. Torres almost smiled at the name. Lazarus had risen from the dead, just as humanity was about to rise from apparent weakness to show their true strength. The truth was that humans had been preparing for this day since their first contact with galactic civilization 30 years ago. While they had appeared primitive and divided to alien observers, Earth's greatest minds had been working together in absolute secrecy. When human traders first encountered alien technology, they had not just bought it. They had studied it, reverse-engineered it, and improved upon it. Every piece of alien equipment that entered human space was quietly copied and analyzed. Human scientists had spent decades learning how galactic technology worked. The Zephyrians thought humans were using primitive fusion drives and simple weapons. They were wrong. Hidden in asteroid mining facilities and secret orbital shipyards, humans had built something entirely different. Dr. Chen called out Commander Rodriguez from the tactical center. We're receiving reports from all stealth ships. The enemy fleet is maintaining standard formation. They suspect nothing. Chen nodded. The cloaking technology hiding humanity's true fleet was a combination of techniques stolen from 7 different alien species. No single galactic race had technology advanced enough to see through it, because no single race had built it. But the hidden fleet was not humanity's only secret. Chen walked to a sealed chamber where Earth's most classified project waited. Inside, protected by layers of security that would have impressed any galactic intelligence agency, was humanity's greatest achievement. The quantum archive contained the complete technological knowledge of 43 different alien civilizations. Humans had not just traded for technology, they had stolen it, copied it, and studied it with the desperate intensity of a species that knew they were surrounded by potential enemies. "Show me the fleet status," Chen ordered. The main display lit up with icons representing 500 human vessels, not the 50 ships the Zephyrians expected, but 500 of the most advanced warships ever built by human hands. Each one was equipped with technology that officially did not exist. More importantly, each ship was equipped with a weapon that no galactic species had ever used in warfare. The aliens fought with honor codes and rules of engagement that limited casualties and preserved valuable infrastructure. They saw war as a game to be won, not a problem to be solved. Humans saw war differently. "Admiral," Chen said quietly, "it's time to show them what desperate really means." Torres opened a communication channel to every human ship in the solar system. His voice was calm, but everyone listening could hear the steel beneath it. "This is Admiral Torres to all vessels. For 30 years we have watched alien species divide up the galaxy among themselves. They see us as primitives to be conquered or enslaved. Today we teach them that humans are not prey." He paused, looking at the tactical display showing the approaching Zephyrian fleet. "Each of you volunteered for this mission, knowing you might not return home. Each of your ships carries enough firepower to crack a moon. You are not just defending Earth. You are sending a message to every species in the galaxy. The message is simple. Humans are not to be underestimated." In the hidden fleet, 500 captains prepared for battle. But this would not be the kind of battle the Zephyrians expected. There would be no exchange of fire, no tactical maneuvering, no honorable surrender when one side was defeated. The human ships had been designed for a single purpose: complete destruction of any threat to Earth. They were not warships in any traditional sense. They were guided weapons, each one capable of annihilating targets that aliens thought were impossible to destroy. "All ships report ready," announced. Lieutenant Park Chen watched the enemy fleet approach Earth. The Zephyrians were moving in perfect formation, confident in their overwhelming superiority. They had no idea that they were flying into the most carefully planned ambush in human history. "Dr. Chen," Torres asked, "are you certain about this? Once we begin, there will be no going back. The entire galaxy will know what we are capable of." Chen thought about her daughter, who was 7 years old and loved to draw pictures of alien spaceships. She thought about all the children on Earth who deserved to grow up free. She thought about every human who had ever looked up at the stars and dreamed of exploring them. "I'm certain, Admiral." "Give the order." Torres took a deep breath. "All ships, this is Fleet Command. Operation Lazarus is authorized. Show them what humans do to those who threaten our world." Across the solar system, 500 human ships received the signal they had been waiting for. Their cloaking systems deactivated simultaneously, revealing humanity's true strength to an enemy that had expected to find weakness. But the Zephyrians had no time to react to this revelation. Each human ship was already in position for what came next. They had not decloaked to fight. They had decloaked to deliver a lesson that the galaxy would never forget. The lesson was simple: never mistake human restraint for human weakness, and never ever threaten the survival of the human species. Admiral Corex had 17 minutes to live, though he did not know it yet. His invasion fleet was about to become the first galactic military force to experience human warfare. They would also be the last because humans believed in learning from their mistakes. The mistake had been assuming that humans would fight by alien rules. Admiral Corex stared at his tactical display in disbelief. Where moments before his sensors had shown empty space, 500 human vessels now surrounded his fleet. The primitive species that was supposed to have 50 ships had somehow hidden 10 times that number. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "Our intelligence report said they had basic technology." His tactical officer's hands shook as he studied the readings. "Admiral, these ships are not showing up as expected on our sensors. The energy signatures are completely unknown. Whatever technology they are using, we have never seen it before." Corex felt the first stirring of real concern. The Zephyrian Empire had conquered 12 star systems by maintaining superior technology and better intelligence. If humans had weapons they did not recognize, the invasion could become more difficult than planned. "Open communication channels," he ordered. "Demand their immediate surrender." Before his communications officer could respond, something impossible happened. The human ships began moving toward the Zephyrian fleet at speeds that should have been impossible for vessels of their size. But they were not attacking in any pattern Corex recognized. Instead, each human ship seemed to be aimed directly at a specific Zephyrian vessel. "Admiral," his tactical officer reported with growing panic, "they appear to be on collision courses. All of them. Each human ship is targeting one of ours for ramming." Corex almost laughed. "Ramming? What kind of primitive tactic is that? Our shields can deflect asteroids moving at significant fractions of light speed. Their ships will be destroyed harmlessly against our defenses." He was about to learn that humans had spent considerable time studying Zephyrian shield technology. They knew exactly how much energy those shields could absorb before failing. More importantly, they knew that no galactic species had ever been insane enough to weaponize faster than light. "Travel itself," Captain Lisa Zhang commanded. The human destroyer Defiance, her ship, was one of the smaller vessels in the hidden fleet, but it carried the same impossible weapon as every other human ship. As she watched the distance close between her vessel and her target, she thought about her brother who had died in the border skirmishes with alien pirates. "Captain," her engineering officer reported, "FTL drive is charged and ready. Course locked on enemy vessel designation Zeta 7. Zhang nodded. "All hands prepare for jump. Make our ancestors proud." Across the human fleet, 500 captains gave similar orders. What happened next lasted only 17 minutes, but it changed the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The human ships did not ram the Zephyrian vessels. Instead, at point-blank range, each human ship engaged its faster-than-light drive. This created localized distortions in space-time that no shield technology in the galaxy could withstand. The effects were immediate and devastating. As each human ship jumped to hyperspace while touching a Zephyrian vessel, the enemy ship was caught in the space-time distortion and torn apart at the molecular level. Zephyrian shields, designed to deflect energy and matter, had no defense against the fundamental forces of the universe being twisted into weapons. Admiral Corex watched in horror as his flagship's sensor array detected what was happening to his fleet. One by one, every ship under his command was being destroyed by an attack method that violated every known law of space warfare. "Impossible," he whispered. "No species would weaponize hyperspace travel. The risks are too great." His science officer, a young Zephyrian named Keth who specialized in theoretical physics, spoke in a voice filled with terrified awe. "Admiral, they are creating controlled hyperspace anomalies. The energy release from each jump is tearing apart our hull structures. Our shields cannot protect against distorted space-time itself." The last thing Admiral Corex saw was a human ship appearing directly in front of his bridge. The last thing he thought was that humans were completely insane. Both observations were correct. 17 minutes after the battle began, the Zephyrian invasion fleet no longer existed. 500 enemy warships had been reduced to expanding clouds of ionized particles. Not a single Zephyrian had survived to report what had happened, but humanity was not finished. In the command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Sarah Chen watched the tactical display confirm the complete destruction of the invasion fleet. Around her, technicians cheered and embraced. They had won the impossible victory. Earth was safe. Chen did not celebrate. She knew this was only the beginning. "Admiral Torres," she said quietly, "initiate Phase 2. Torres nodded grimly. "Dr. Chen, are you certain about this? Once we cross this line, there will be no going back." "The Zephyrians came here to enslave our entire species," Chen replied. "They would have strip-mined our world and sold our children. We cannot let them try again. We cannot let anyone try again." She turned to address the entire command center. "Everyone listen carefully. What we do next will echo through galactic history. We are not just defending Earth anymore. We are sending a message to every species in the galaxy. The message is simple. Leave humans alone or face extinction." Torres opened a communication channel to the secret human shipyards hidden throughout the solar system, facilities that had been built in asteroid belts and behind the moons of gas giants, places where humanity had constructed weapons that no galactic species had ever imagined. "All stations, this is Fleet Command. Release the Reaper fleet. Target coordinates are Zephyros Prime, Kepler Station, and New Zephyr. Time to deployment, 6 hours. In hidden facilities across the solar system, massive bay doors opened to reveal humanity's true masterpiece. Not the ships that had just destroyed the invasion fleet, but something far more terrible. Vessels that had been designed for a single purpose, the complete annihilation of entire worlds. The galaxy was about to learn that humans had studied more than just alien technology. They had studied alien psychology, alien history, and alien weaknesses. They knew that every galactic species valued honor, restraint, and the preservation of civilian populations. Humans valued survival above all else, and they had concluded that the only way to ensure humanity's survival was to demonstrate that threatening Earth would result in consequences so terrible that no species would dare risk them. The Reaper fleet began its journey toward the Zephyrian homeworlds. Each ship carried a weapon that would have horrified every member of the Galactic Council. Weapons that could crack planets and extinguish stars. Weapons that humans had built not because they wanted to use them, but because they needed the galaxy to know that they could. The Zephyrian Empire had 16 billion citizens living on 3 heavily populated worlds. In 6 hours, that number would be 0, and every species in the galaxy would receive the same message. Humans were no longer the quiet species on the edge of civilized space. They were something new, something unprecedented, and something that should never be threatened. The age of human restraint was over. The emergency session of the Galactic Council began 6 hours after the Zephyrian invasion fleet had vanished from all sensor readings. Representatives from 200 worlds gathered in the Great Chamber, their various forms of communication creating a symphony of worry and confusion. Counselor Withara of the Ethereal Collective called for order. Her normally serene voice carried notes of deep concern. Fellow council members, we have received disturbing reports from our monitoring stations throughout the galaxy. Massive energy signatures have been detected from both the Sol system and the core worlds of the Zephyrian Empire. The holographic display above the chamber activated, showing sensor readings that made no sense to most of the assembled beings. Energy spikes that exceeded the output of small stars, gravitational distortions that suggested the impossible, and then silence from 3 of the most heavily populated worlds in the galaxy. Counselor Thekmore's crystalline form pulsed with nervous energy. Have we received any communication from the Zephyrian fleet? Their last report indicated they were approaching the human world. No communication has been received, Ithara replied. More troubling, we have lost all contact with Zephyros Prime, Kepler Station, and New Zephyr. Our long-range sensors show massive debris fields where these worlds once existed. A wave of shocked silence swept through the chamber. The destruction of entire planets was beyond the experience of most galactic civilizations. Wars were fought between military forces, not against civilian populations. The intentional destruction of inhabited worlds was considered the ultimate war crime. Perhaps there was an accident, suggested Counselor Vextai, though his insectoid features betrayed his uncertainty. Solar flares or natural disasters affecting multiple systems simultaneously. The chamber's main display changed to show long-range telescope images of the Zephyrian home system. Where Zephyros Prime had once orbited, there was now only an expanding cloud of glowing debris. The planet had not been conquered or invaded. It had been completely destroyed, broken apart, and scattered across space. Dr. Mordian Klex, the Council's chief xenobiologist, stepped forward to address the assembly. His multiple eyes focused on different sections of the chamber as he spoke. Fellow Council members, I have spent the past 6 hours analyzing all available data about the human species. What I have discovered forces us to completely reconsider everything we thought we knew about them. The display changed again, now showing images of Earth and its inhabitants, humans going about their daily lives, building cities, raising families. They looked peaceful, even primitive compared to the advanced beings in the council chamber. We classified humans as Class 7 primitives based on their technology and apparent social development. Dr. Klex continued. This classification was catastrophically incorrect. We failed to understand their fundamental nature. He gestured, and the display showed a timeline of human evolution. Every other sapient species in our records evolved from prey animals, herbivores, or scavengers. Humans are unique. They evolved from persistence predators, For millions of years they survived by hunting other creatures to exhaustion across vast distances. Murmurs of unease rippled through the chamber. Most galactic species had forgotten what it meant to be predators. They had achieved civilization so long ago that hunting for survival was ancient history. More significantly, Dr. Klex continued, human history is filled with conflicts that ended only when one side was completely destroyed. They have fought wars lasting decades, conflicts where millions died rather than surrender. They do not view warfare as we do. For humans, war is not about territory or resources. It is about survival. The display now showed images from human history. Ancient battles, world wars, conflicts that had raged across their planet for generations. The assembled council members watched in growing horror as they saw the true nature of human conflict. When threatened with extinction, Dr. Klex explained, most species choose between fight or flight. Humans choose total war. They would rather destroy everything, including themselves, than submit to conquest. Counselor Ethera's voice was barely a whisper. Are you suggesting that humans destroyed the Zephyrian worlds intentionally? I am stating it as fact, Dr. Klex replied. Our monitoring stations detected the launch of human vessels 6 hours before the Zephyrian worlds were destroyed. The energy signatures match experimental weapons based on weaponized spatial distortions. Humans did not just defeat the invasion fleet. They annihilated the entire Zephyrian civilization. The chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives from dozens of species began speaking at once, their voices creating a cacophony of fear and disbelief. The idea that a supposedly primitive species could destroy 3 planets was beyond their comprehension. Order, Ethera called out. Dr. Klex, what is your assessment of the current threat level? Dr. Klex's multiple eyes focused on her with an expression that conveyed absolute certainty. Counselor, humans represent an unprecedented danger to galactic civilization. They possess technology we do not understand, weapons we cannot defend against, and a willingness to use both without restraint. Most importantly, they have demonstrated that they view the complete extinction of their enemies as an acceptable outcome. He paused, allowing his words to sink in before continuing. Every war in galactic history has been fought with rules, limits on casualties, protection for civilian populations, and preservation of valuable infrastructure. Humans fight by different rules. They fight to win regardless of cost. The display changed one final time, showing an intercept of the message that had been broadcast on all galactic frequencies immediately after the Zephyrian worlds died. The species known as humans hereby declares the Zephyrian Empire extinct. Any attempt to investigate or retaliate will result in similar consequences. We are not interested in territory, tribute, or negotiation. We are interested in being left alone. The message was read aloud in the chamber's translation system. 200 different species heard the same words in their own languages, and the meaning was clear to all of them. Counselor Thekmore was the first to speak after the message ended. They are threatening the entire galaxy. No, Dr. Klex corrected. They are promising to defend themselves. The distinction is crucial. Humans do not appear to have territorial ambitions. They are not seeking to conquer other worlds. They simply want to be left alone to develop as they choose. And if we refuse to leave them alone? Asked Counselor Vextai. Dr. Klex gestured toward the images of the destroyed Zephyrian worlds. Then we join the Zephyrian Empire in extinction. The council chamber fell silent as the assembled representatives contemplated this new reality. For thousands of years, galactic civilization had operated according to established rules and traditions. Conflicts were resolved through negotiation, limited warfare, or economic pressure. No species had ever possessed the power or the will to destroy entire civilizations. Now they faced a species that had both, and the wisdom to use that power as a deterrent rather than a tool of conquest. What do you recommend? Ethera asked. Dr. Klex's answer would reshape galactic politics for generations to come. We leave them alone, he said simply. We treat humans as we would any force of nature too powerful to control. We respect their boundaries, avoid their territory, and pray they remain content with isolation. The vote was unanimous. Earth would be granted complete autonomy, and humanity would be reclassified from primitives to something entirely new in galactic records. They would be classified as apex predators who had learned to build starships. 3 months after the Zephyrian Empire ceased to exist, Ambassador Sarah Chen walked through the corridors of the Galactic Council Station, Her footsteps echoed in halls that had witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations spanning thousands of years. Today, those same halls would witness something that had never happened before. A primitive species being invited to join the galactic community as equals. The beings she passed stopped their conversations to stare at her. Some showed curiosity, others fear, and a few displayed what might have been respect. All of them knew what she represented. She was the first official representative of the species that had redefined the meaning of power in the galaxy. Chen wore a simple, black uniform with no decorations except a small patch, showing Earth as seen from space. She carried no weapons, needed no bodyguards, and traveled in a ship that looked primitive compared to the vessels belonging to older civilizations. Yet every being in the station treated her with the careful courtesy reserved for forces too dangerous to provoke. The council chamber had been reconfigured for her arrival. A new speaking platform had been installed, positioned at the same level as those used by the most senior members. The message was clear. Humanity would be treated as an equal partner, not a junior member seeking approval. As Chen entered the chamber, 200 representatives from across the galaxy rose to acknowledge her presence. It was a gesture of respect that had been debated for hours before her arrival. Some council members had argued that honoring a species that had committed genocide was inappropriate. Others had pointed out that failing to show proper respect might result in their own worlds joining the Zephyrian system as expanding debris. Fields. Pragmatism had won the debate. Councillor Withera called the session to order. Her voice carried none of its usual serenity. Ambassador Chen, on behalf of the Galactic Council, we welcome humanity to this assembly. We trust your journey from Earth was without incident. Chen smiled, and several council members found themselves wondering if that expression was genuine warmth or carefully controlled threat. With humans, it was impossible to tell. Thank you, Councillor Ithara. Earth appreciates the Council's invitation. We look forward to establishing productive relationships with our galactic neighbors. Her words were diplomatic, but everyone in the chamber remembered the last message humanity had sent to the galaxy. The promise that any aggression would result in extinction. Chen's pleasant demeanor did nothing to diminish the memory of what her species was capable of. Councillor Techmore's crystalline form flickered nervously as he spoke. Ambassador, the Council wishes to formalize humanity's status within galactic civilization. We have prepared documents recognizing Earth's sovereignty and territorial claims. Chen nodded. We appreciate the Council's recognition. However, Earth's territorial requirements are simple. We claim the Sol system and request that all other species maintain a distance of at least 10 light-years from our borders. The request was modest by galactic standards. Most major civilizations controlled hundreds of star systems. Humanity was asking for control of one system and a buffer zone around it. Granted without question, Ithera replied immediately. The Council also wishes to discuss trade relationships and technology sharing agreements. This was the moment Chen had been preparing for during her entire journey to the Council station. Earth needed resources and knowledge that could only be obtained through peaceful cooperation with other species. But they also needed to maintain the image of strength that had made such cooperation possible. Earth is willing to engage in limited trade, she said carefully. We can offer certain technological innovations in exchange for raw materials and scientific knowledge. However, our most advanced technologies will remain exclusively human. The unspoken message was clear. Humanity would share enough technology to be useful trading partners, but they would never give other species the tools needed to threaten Earth. Councillor Vextai leaned forward with obvious interest. What technologies might humanity be willing to share? Chen smiled again. We have developed improvements to standard shield generators that increase efficiency by 30%. Our medical technology has produced treatments for genetic disorders that affect several galactic species. And our agricultural techniques could increase food production on marginal worlds. She was offering genuinely valuable technology, but nothing that could be used as weapons. It was a calculated gesture designed to show that humans could be beneficial allies while remaining clearly superior in military capability. The Council finds these offerings acceptable, Ithara said. We also wish to discuss mutual defense agreements. Chen's expression became more serious. Earth has no interest in defending other worlds. We also have no interest in being defended by others. Humanity prefers to handle its own security matters. The message was diplomatic but unmistakable. Humans would not come to anyone's rescue, but they also would not tolerate interference in their affairs. However, Chen continued, Earth is willing to offer a guarantee of non-aggression to all Council members. As long as no hostile action is taken against humanity or human interests, we will take no hostile action in return. It was a simple offer, but it carried enormous implications. Humanity was promising not to destroy any more civilizations, as long as those civilizations left them alone. The formal vote to grant humanity full membership in the Galactic Council was unanimous. No one wanted to risk becoming the second species to test human resolve. After the session ended, Chen found herself approached by smaller groups of representatives seeking private conversations. Most wanted reassurance that their own species would remain safe. A few asked about the possibility of acquiring human weapons technology. All were politely refused. Dr. Mortian Klex, the xenobiologist who had explained human nature to the Council, approached her during a break in the proceedings. Ambassador, he said, I hope you understand that many species are still struggling to process what humanity has done. The complete destruction of the Zephyrian civilization has challenged fundamental assumptions about how civilized beings conduct warfare. Chen studied the multi-eyed scientist with interest. Dr. Kleck's humanity did not seek conflict with the Zephyrians. They came to our world intending to enslave our entire species. We responded appropriately. Appropriately? Klex repeated. 16 billion Zephyrians died. Yes, Chen replied without hesitation. 16 billion Zephyrians who lived in a society that considered the enslavement of other species to be acceptable policy. Their deaths ensure that no other species will make the same mistake. Her tone was matter-of-fact, as if she were discussing weather patterns rather than genocide. It was this casual acceptance of extreme violence that made humans so terrifying to other galactic species. Do you ever regret the necessity of such actions? Klex asked. Chen considered the question seriously. Dr. Klex, I have a daughter who is 7 years old. She loves to draw pictures of spaceships and dreams of exploring the galaxy someday. Because of what we did to the Zephyrians, she will grow up in a universe where other species think very carefully before threatening humanity. I regret that such actions were necessary. I do not regret taking them. That evening, Chen transmitted her first official report back to Earth. The message was brief but significant. Mission accomplished. Humanity has been granted full recognition and territorial sovereignty. All species have agreed to maintain appropriate distance from human space. Trade agreements are in place for necessary resources. Earth's security is assured. She paused before adding the final line. The galaxy now understands what we are. More importantly, they understand what we are willing to do to protect ourselves. Recommend maintaining current defensive posture while developing peaceful relationships with non-threatening species. Back on Earth, President Martinez read the report to the assembled leaders of humanity's secret government. The men and women who had authorized the destruction of 3 worlds in order to secure humanity's future. Congratulations, Martinez said to the room. We are no longer a primitive species begging for acceptance. We are the apex predators of the galaxy, and everyone knows it. In the months that followed, the galaxy adjusted to its new reality. Trade routes were established that carefully avoided human space. Diplomatic protocols were revised to ensure that no species accidentally gave offense to humanity. And in the deepest archives of every major civilization, new files were created to track the species that had changed everything. The files were labeled simply, Humans, Approach with Extreme Caution. Children across the galaxy learned new stories. Tales of the quiet species that had seemed weak until threatened. Stories that taught young beings to respect the humans who sailed between the stars, carrying weapons that could crack worlds in the will to use them. And on Earth, Dr. Sarah Chen's daughter continued to draw pictures of spaceships, dreaming of the day when she could explore a galaxy that would welcome her with the respectful fear that her species had earned. The age of human restraint was over. The age of human respect had begun.